Harmony Gulch wasn't much to look at. A cluster of sun-baked buildings huddled together against the vast, unforgiving landscape. Dust devils danced in the streets, and the only splash of color came from the faded signs hanging over the saloon and the mercantile. But it was home to the townsfolk, a place where they'd scraped out a living. The bank, a sturdy brick building with imposing columns, was the heart of Harmony Gulch. It held everyone's hopes and dreams, their hard-earned savings, and the promise of a better future. Folks trusted it like they trusted the rising sun. Silas Blackwood, the banker, was a fixture in town, always impeccably dressed in a dark suit. His slick-back hair and reassuring smile calmed any worries about finances. He seemed the very picture of honesty and respectability. But behind that facade lurked a secret greed, a hunger that would soon shatter the peace of Harmony Gulch. Silas Blackwood wasn't just greedy, he was meticulous. Every penny that passed through the bank's doors was carefully accounted for, and a little extra found its way into his personal ledger. He justified it as investment, but in truth, it was feeding a gambling habit he kept hidden from townsfolk. He'd started small, betting on horse races and card games. But the stakes grew higher as he chased bigger wins, always convinced the next hand would be his lucky one. The bank's funds became his personal piggy bank, a temptation he couldn't resist. He told himself he'd pay it back, that one big win would solve everything. But the losses piled up, and the hole in the bank's vault grew larger. Panic set in. He saw only one way out, a desperate gamble that would leave Harmony Gulch reeling. The Painted Lady, on the edge of town, was a world away from the bank's sterile order. Laughter spilled from its doors, mixing with the tinkling of a piano and the murmur of conversations. It was a place of refuge, of secrets, and, surprisingly, of strength. Madame Evangeline, a woman with a sharp wit and an even sharper tongue, ran the establishment with an iron fist and a surprisingly kind heart. She'd seen more of life's hardships than most in Harmony Gulch and had learned to survive and to protect those under her care. Clementine, Evangeline's right-hand woman, was a whirlwind of energy. Quick-witted and nimble-fingered, she'd arrived in Harmony Gulch with nothing but the clothes on her back and a talent for separating people from their valuables. Evangeline saw her potential and gave her a second chance. Now, Clementine was fiercely loyal, ready to face any challenge alongside Evangeline. The morning after Blackwood's final, desperate gamble dawned like any other in Harmony Gulch. But when the townsfolk arrived at the bank, they found the doors locked and a note pinned to the front. The note, scrawled in Blackwood's familiar handwriting, spoke of hard times, of investments gone sour, and of his deep regret. But most of all, it spoke of the bank being empty. He was gone, along with every last penny of the town's savings. Panic erupted. Families faced ruin. Businesses teetered on the brink. The trust that had held Harmony Gulch together shattered like glass. The heart of their town had been ripped out, leaving a gaping wound. Blackwood had not only robbed them of their money, but of their hope. He vanished into the dusty expanse. The news hit the Painted Lady like a thunderclap. The laughter died, the music stopped. The women, who had entrusted their hard-earned tips to Blackwood's bank, felt the cold grip of despair. Evangeline, usually so composed, felt a surge of anger, not just for herself, but for her girls, for the townsfolk who had been betrayed. She had suspected Blackwood was a snake, but she never imagined he would stoop this low. She stormed into Clementine's room, her eyes blazing. "That low-down, double-crossing sidewinder," she exclaimed. "He's taken everything, everything we worked for." She paused, taking a deep breath. "But I'll be hornswoggled if I let him get away with it." The realization that their savings were gone solidified her resolve. Something had to be done. Evangeline paced Clementine's small room, her mind racing. "We're going after him," she declared, stopping abruptly. Clementine, who was meticulously cleaning her collection of lockpicks, looked up, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. "We? Go after Blackwood? Are you loco, Evangeline? He's got a head start, and probably a posse of hired guns by now." "Maybe," Evangeline conceded, "but he doesn't know who he's up against." He thinks we're just a bunch of saloon girls. He underestimates us. And that's his mistake. She leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. We're going to get that money back, Clementine. And maybe a glint appeared in her eyes. Just maybe we'll take this town while we're at it. She unfolds the plan. Clementine hesitated, carefully placing a lockpick back in its leather case. Taking the town? Evangeline, you're dreaming bigger than a pregnant mare. Besides, what makes you think I'd be any good at this? I used to lift wallets, not rob stagecoaches. Evangeline smirked. Don't sell yourself short, Clementine. You're quick, you're clever, and you know Blackwood better than he knows himself. She paused, letting her words sink in. Remember that poker game last year? You cleaned him out. You saw his tells, his weaknesses. You know how he thinks. Clementine's eyes narrowed. He's predictable when he's losing, she admitted grudgingly. And he hates being made a fool of. A slow smile spread across her face. All right, Evangeline, I'm in. But if we're doing this, we're doing it right. The next morning, Evangeline gathered the women of the Painted Lady. Nervous whispers filled the room as she explained Blackwood's betrayal and her plan to retrieve the stolen money. She didn't sugarcoat the danger, but she emphasized the importance of their mission, not just for themselves, but for the entire town. Rosie, a sharpshooter with nerves of steel, was the first to volunteer. Then came Beatrice, a master of disguise and accents, and Clara, whose sweet demeanor hid a talent for persuasion that could charm the birds out of the trees. Each woman brought a unique skill to the table, a hidden strength that Blackwood had never suspected. Evangeline watched them, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. They were more than just saloon girls. They were a force to be reckoned with. They were a sisterhood, ready to fight for what was right. The crew is assembled. Days turned into a whirlwind of activity. Rosie practiced her shooting, hitting targets with uncanny accuracy. Beatrice transformed herself into a variety of characters: a grizzled prospector, a wealthy widow, a traveling salesman, perfecting each disguise with meticulous detail. Clara honed her persuasive skills, learning to extract information with a smile and a wink. Clementine, meanwhile, dusted off her old lockpicks and practiced her sleight of hand, her nimble fingers moving with a speed that defied the eye. Evangeline, the mastermind behind the operation, pored over maps, strategizing and planning every detail, anticipating every possible obstacle. The brothel transformed from a place of leisure into a hive of activity, buzzing with purpose and determination. They were no longer just women of the Painted Lady. They were a team, a force, a sisterhood bound by a common goal: to take back what was rightfully theirs. The training begins. Their preparations complete, Evangeline spread a map across the table, tracing Blackwood's likely escape route. He's heading west, she announced, toward Redemption Gulch. Redemption Gulch was a notorious mining town, a lawless haven for outlaws and fortune seekers. It was the last place anyone would expect to find a respectable banker, making it the perfect hiding spot. It's going to be dangerous, Evangeline warned. Redemption Gulch is a viper's nest, but it's our best shot at catching Blackwood before he disappears for good. The women exchanged determined glances. They knew the risks, but they were ready to face them. They would travel to a dangerous location. Clementine spoke. It's also the kind of place where a fancy man like Blackwood will stick out like a sore thumb. We just need to get there and find him. She knew it was a gamble, but it was one they had to take. The journey to Redemption Gulch was arduous. The wagon wheels groaned under the weight of their supplies, and the relentless sun beat down on them. The landscape was unforgiving, a vast expanse of desert dotted with cacti and scrub brush. A broken wagon wheel threatened to derail their mission, but Rosie's quick thinking and surprising mechanical skills saved the day. A chance encounter with a band of desperate outlaws tested their courage, but Beatrice's quick wit and Clara's persuasive charm diffused the situation before it escalated. They faced scorching heat, dwindling supplies, and the constant threat of danger, but their determination never wavered. With each obstacle they overcame, their bond grew stronger. They were a sisterhood, tested by fire, and forged in resilience. Their journey tested them. The first glimpse of Redemption Gulch was enough to make even the most hardened traveler uneasy. A sprawling shanty town clung to the side of a rocky mountain, a chaotic mix of ramshackle buildings, dusty streets, and rough-looking characters. Saloons blared music day and night, and the air was thick with the smell of whiskey, sweat, and desperation. It was a town where fortunes were made and lost in the blink of an eye, and where life was cheap. Evangeline, disguised as a stern-looking businesswoman, surveyed the scene with a critical eye. "All right, ladies," she said, her voice low and steady. "Remember the plan? We stick together, we stay sharp, and we find Blackwood." They rode into town. Their hunt begins. Under the guise of various personas, the women fanned out across Redemption Gulch, each tasked with gathering information. Beatrice, as a chatty saloon owner, eavesdropped on conversations, gleaning valuable clues about Blackwood's whereabouts. Clara, posing as a naive tourist, charmed information from unsuspecting townsfolk. Rosie, working as a card dealer, kept a close eye on the gambling dens, knowing Blackwood's weakness for high-stakes games. Clementine, moving through the shadows, used her pickpocket skills to acquire information and access restricted areas. It didn't take long for them to discover that Blackwood was staying at the Golden Nugget Hotel and that he had been seen frequenting the local saloon and casino. The details of their plan began to come together. Their intel is gathered. The plan unfolded like a well-rehearsed dance. Clara, using her charm, created a diversion at the saloon, drawing Blackwood's attention and separating him from his bodyguards. Beatrice, disguised as a drunken prospector, started a brawl near the hotel, creating chaos and confusion. Rosie, from a nearby rooftop, provided cover, her rifle trained on anyone who posed a threat. Clementine, meanwhile, slipped into Blackwood's hotel room, her nimble fingers quickly disabling the lock. Inside, she found a strongbox hidden beneath the floorboards. But it was locked. Time was running out. The success of their mission rested on Clementine's skill and speed. Their plan begins. Outside, the saloon doors burst open, and Evangeline strode in, her eyes fixed on Blackwood. She moved with a purpose that silenced the room. "Silas Blackwood," she announced, her voice cutting through the noise. "We need to talk." Blackwood, startled, rose to his feet, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "Evangeline, what are you doing here?" "Looking for what's rightfully ours," she replied, her gaze unwavering. She confronted him. Meanwhile, Clementine, sweating and frustrated, tried another pick on the strongbox. It snapped. Inside was not the money, but a letter. Quickly reading it, she discovered the money was hidden in a mine shaft just outside of town. "Evangeline," she yelled from the window. "It's not here. It's at the mine. They must change the plan." "The mine." Blackwood paled, his carefully constructed facade cracking. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm always serious when it comes to what's mine," Evangeline retorted, her eyes narrowing. "Or rather, what's yours, but rightfully belongs to the people of Harmony Gulch." A tense standoff ensued. Blackwood, surrounded by his henchmen, tried to bluff his way out of the situation, but Evangeline was unmoved. She knew she had him cornered. "Why, Silas? Why did you do it?" she demanded, her voice laced with disappointment. Blackwood's story came spilling out. Gambling debts, desperation, a misguided belief that he could make it all back. He was a broken man. "I was going to pay it back. I swear," he pleaded. "Too late for promises, Silas," Evangeline said, her voice cold. "Too late." Their battle begins. Suddenly, the saloon doors swung open, and Rosie stepped inside, her rifle raised. "Looks like the party's moving to the mine," she announced, her voice sharp. Blackwood's henchmen tensed, but before they could react, Beatrice, disguised as a burly miner, tossed a smoke bomb into the room, filling the saloon with confusion. In the ensuing chaos, Clementine, quick as a whip, disarmed Blackwood, snatching his pistol. Evangeline, seizing the opportunity, delivered a swift kick to Blackwood's shins, sending him sprawling. "Let's go, ladies!" Evangeline shouted. The women, working as a unit, herded Blackwood and his henchmen out of the saloon and towards the mine. Their combined skills are used. They are now in control. At the mine, it was an easy job to retrieve the stolen cash. Back at the Painted Lady, the women gathered around a table piled high with money. The mood was celebratory, but a shadow of doubt lingered in the air. "So what'll we do with it?" Rosie asked, breaking the silence. "We could all live like queens for the rest of our lives." "We earned it," Beatrice added. "Blackwood stole it from us, fair and square." Evangeline looked at each of them, her expression serious. "We did earn it. But this isn't just our money. This belongs to the townsfolk, to the families who lost everything." A debate ensued. Some argued that they deserved to keep a portion for their efforts, while others felt strongly that it should all be returned. The group is divided. What will they do? Clementine remained silent, watching Evangeline, knowing the decision ultimately rested with her. They have a choice to make. Evangeline raised her hand, silencing the room. "We're returning it," she said, her voice firm. "All of it." A collective sigh swept through the room. Some looked relieved, others disappointed, but all respected her decision. "We're not like Blackwood," Evangeline continued. "We didn't do this for ourselves. We did it for Harmony Gulch, for the people who depend on us." She realized they couldn't become the evil they fought against. She looked at Clementine. "Besides, I have bigger plans for this town, and we can't very well rule over people we've just robbed." The decision was made. They will return it. It was time to return home. It was the right thing to do. The return to Harmony Gulch was triumphant, yet complicated. They were greeted as heroes, their wagon laden with the recovered money. Families wept with relief, businesses reopened, and the town slowly began to heal. But not everyone was thrilled. Some whispered about the women of the Painted Lady, questioning their motives, suspicious of their newfound power. They were still outsiders, and old prejudices died hard. "They're just saloon girls," some muttered. "What do they know about running a town?" Evangeline, however, was undeterred. She knew that changing hearts and minds would take time, but she was ready for the challenge. She was determined to prove that they were more than just what people saw on the surface. They're now back in town. Evangeline and her women didn't waste any time. They used their newfound influence to establish a community fund, providing loans and support to struggling families and businesses. They reformed the town council, ensuring fairer representation for all its citizens. They even opened a school, providing education for children who had never had the opportunity before. They fixed the broken water pipes. Slowly, but surely, Harmony Gulch began to transform. The women of the Painted Lady proved that they were not just saloon girls, but resourceful, compassionate, and capable leaders. They showed the men that there were other ways to do things. The new Harmony Gulch was taking shape. There was still work to be done, but the town was getting there. They are the leaders. From a porch of the Painted Lady, Evangeline and Clementine surveyed Harmony Gulch. The setting sun cast a warm glow over the town, highlighting the new schoolhouse, the bustling marketplace, and the faces of the townsfolk, now filled with hope. "Not bad for a couple of saloon girls," Clementine said, a hint of pride in her voice. Evangeline smiled. "We're more than that, Clementine. We're a family. We're a sisterhood. And we're the future of Harmony Gulch." They stood in comfortable silence, watching as the town came to life, a testament to their courage, their ingenuity, and their unwavering loyalty to each other. The sisterhood had changed the town for the better. They accomplished their goals. The end.